Yeah, we've got, the new government in the UK as well. So there are a few changes obviously coming in, which is great as well. Okay, we've got the YouTube. Welcome YouTube. So let me maybe share my presentation and we will start from there. Okay, just let me know, guys, whether you can see that.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. So obviously today we again, I propose this topic for discussion, managing cash flow and working capital post acquisition. I know some of you are much more experienced in post acquisition kind of integration, in acquisitions generally. Some of you are new to this. Yeah, I've done myself 6 acquisitions in different industry, different size of acquisitions. So I will mostly share my experience. And as I always say, I'm very skeptical about the small business M&A world. However, again, this is what we do. And so hopefully this presentation, I think 5 slides will hopefully not maybe just help you, but also at least highlight some challenges that you can face in the future. And hopefully you will share some of your experience. Maybe you've got very positive experience, but my kind of there is always a challenge. Let me just maybe open. There's few people still waiting. So James, Jural. Okay. Hi, James. Hi, Jurel. We're just starting, so good timing. So, guys, so again, managing cash flow and working capital post acquisition. Let me start from this. Imagine acquiring a promising, it's always promising, small business, and only to find that within months cash flow is tightening and working capital is stretched to the limit. Post-acquisition cash flow issues can surprise even very experienced business buyers or entrepreneurs. And today I'm going to show you how to avoid these pitfalls with practical steps, or at least to highlight some of them to keep your new acquisition financially healthy. There's still a few people waiting, so let me just let them in. Yeah, so one thing I've learned over the years is that cash flow forecast, because most, I guess all of us, make this. Let me just open this. So many people still waiting. 1 second. So again, one thing I've learned over the years is that a cash flow forecast, no matter how well prepared before an acquisition, we always do it, or how and why, by whom, usually that will be your accountant, can only tell part of the story. And that's actually soft kind of statement, because these cash flows that are usually useless. Again, that's my experience. The true financial picture of a business often emerges only after you step in. So you start to see hidden cost suddenly, inefficiencies, operational demands that can, again, surprise even the best prepared buyer or entrepreneur. So myself, after the 6 acquisitions I've made, I became very, very skeptical about the successes in small business M&A world. But again, that's probably just me. So hopefully you will share your experience as well. Post-acquisition, unexpected financial demands can creep up in many forms, like higher payrolls, integration costs, or perhaps even unanticipated supply chain issues, etc., etc. So your due diligence you've done before doesn't always, or probably never, reveal all of the challenges you may face later on. And the ripple effect of cash flow issues is really, really serious, because again, it could be supplier growth, suppliers grow impatient, employee morale drops, customer satisfaction can take a hit, etc., etc. So this ripple effect again of cash flow issues may be really serious, and that's why effective cash flow and working capital management aren't just financial housekeeping. They are essential to keeping the business stable, especially in those crucial early weeks, months after acquisition. Again, we're talking obviously about the small business SME acquisition. If cash flow isn't managed carefully, these small issues can quickly snowball into big problems that threaten the success of the entire acquisition. Quite often, you guys give personal guarantees, which is even more painful experience to have. I can give you a few examples actually. Some things you probably may face, or you faced already. For example, in a recent roll-up of regional retail stores that was overseas, we found that each acquired location had different payment cycles, and one store was accustomed to paying suppliers, quite big store, within 30 days, while others had 60-day terms. And obviously, our assumption were based on the 60-day terms. So this mismatch created a cash flow imbalance straight away, to be honest. But again, so we had to act very quickly, and we by standardizing payment terms and implementing weekly cash flow monitoring, which is crucial. The business was able to streamline cash management and prevent cash gaps. So basically, today I will be highlighting this cash flow monitoring, cash flow forecasting, management cash flow a number of times, because that's really important. That's really critical. Although again, we all speak about that. However, for some reason you always face challenges in this space. In business, as we know, everything matters: clients, employees, processes, etc. But when it comes down to it, the most crucial element is cash flow. Cash flow is the most crucial element, because it is as we know, livelihood that keeps every other part of the business functioning. Without a steady cash flow, even the best processes and best teams can quickly fall into crisis. That's why we need a very robust system and knowledge, not only to monitor cash flow in real time, but also to forecast it very accurately. And again, weekly basis in the very early stage is a must. Being proactive about cash flow means anticipating potential gaps. Again, that's your education, and making sure the business remains financially healthy, whatever obviously that means. And this brings up another point: financial education. I actually mentioned that we discussed this briefly, probably the last episode, or maybe the episode before. As CEOs, as a CEO, having a foundational knowledge of finance is really critical. Knowing how to read cash flow statements, understanding working capital, reading financial statements, and seeing operations through the lens of the financial reports, through forecast, financial models, etc. Identifying trends can make a big difference between a business that thrives and the one that struggles. And this is that simple, the financial knowledge, that's simple. And you can actually read Buffett, Jamie Dimon, Rockefellers, J.D. Rockefeller, Richard Branson. They all learned finance at some stage, whether that was formal education or just informal education. Like, for example, Richard Branson, he said, many times that once he learned finance, and we're not just talking about accounting. It's not just actually about accounting. It's about something like called managerial finance. And this is, I always will be repeating this. This is a must for every CEO. During another example, during a healthcare business roll-up, we found that accounts receivable collection times varied widely across locations. And so, we had to kind of standardize collection processes, and the company was able to reduce its receivables days like maybe 15-20%, if I'm correct, which added an immediate cash buffer that could be reinvested into scaling. And again, that was only because somebody had a financial education and could grasp this, can spot this very, very early. And again, that's it, guys, from me. I will be really happy to discuss this topic. I will tell you something about what the market is like. So research actually indicates that a significant proportion of mergers and acquisitions, not just within SME but generally, significant proportion do not achieve their intended objectives. You can find that 70, even 90% of M&A deals fail. Not fail, they collapse entirely, but they kind of fail to realize the expected value. 70 to not even 90%. So this high failure rate underscores, again, the complexities involved in successfully integrating companies and achieving anticipated synergies. So why do we think we could beat actually the market? Whether it's once, if you can see the market actually fail, they usually or they never meet the expectations, the forecasts, why we would be beating them, to be honest. So that's really, again, this is why I'm very, very skeptical. And again, the financial education is really helping me with that. Maybe another example, a mid-sized manufacturing roll-up that was some time ago, where each new facility had its own system for managing inventory and purchasing. So that's really complex. Another, if you're in manufacturing, that's another thing. Inventory, that's really complex stuff, and obviously purchasing. And after acquisition, we consolidated purchasing across all locations. And obviously we could leverage the bulk orders to get better supplier terms, reduce overall costs. But again, that was really, really complex area. It, taught me a lot. But we knew this prior to acquisition, this not only obviously boosted working capital very quickly, but also improved cash flow significantly. So again, cash flow. If you know how to read cash flow statement, how to read cash flow forecasts, financial models, you will spot these things. That's something, the areas that need some kind of thoughts and concentration. So that's it from me, guys. So can you actually, maybe you can say what's the biggest cash flow challenge you faced after an acquisition? I know you, some of you guys, you've done your deals, and I'm very curious whether you had similar kind of challenging experience, or maybe just very positive experience. I would be very happy to hear that from you guys, or maybe you've got some questions. So that's up to you now.
Yeah, I mean, I could just get some bit of feedback on this, really, with the cash flow. I think last time we spoke, I mentioned about the kind of first WIBO I did with the jewelry business. That was a bit tricky one with the cash flow. I learned that pretty quick because the owner at the time didn't have a forecast for the business, and because they have a forecast for the business, it just meant that he couldn't tell which months he would have low cash, which months he had high amount of cash. So because we didn't know that, it was very hard then to predict how much money we need to use to spend on buying product and not spend on buying product. So what we realized he had a very up down scale for purchasing. So some months we spend a lot of money, some months we spend less. There was just really no steady way of trying to monetize it so you can actually put it under control. Well, the nature of the business was a bit tricky simply because we were buying secondhand watches, right? So it was always whenever those watches are available. So that created kind of like unbalanced or unpredictable pattern around it.
All
But
right. Okay.
yeah, so that's
How
something
big
that
was
discovered.
how big was the business?
It was turning over at least 2.5.
All right. So still not a very small business. So
Yeah, yeah,
interesting. So without managing cash flow, that was interesting. And still they have some stock, as I believe.
yeah.
Okay.
They'll sell the stock, yeah,
Wow.
and this is the thing because then I think it depends what kind of business you're in, because obviously the amount of cash you spend will reflect on whether your product based or service based business and how your nature of your beast kind of works. But in this case where we had product, then you have to encounter in also um, how long it took that product to sit on your shelf to sell, because the product sitting on the shelf in this case also cost you money, right? Because you would have spent that money and it would take you so much long to get the money back. So a lot of the time when we can look to the business, that wasn't kind of factored in so much about how long the sitting product stays there before it actually sells.
Hmm.
So yeah, but it was interesting. But I think we're definitely getting there because we started to kind of sort those few issues out. But the cash flow.
You're still there. You're still with the guy.
No, we didn't actually carry on with that business simply because um, it was very difficult to then expand out and scale the business because of that issue of the of unable to predict when cash flow can be spent, cash flow cannot be spent. It was kind of like pretty much you have to be kind of like a one shop
Hmm.
presence. It's just hard to scale that across the board because it wasn't a case you're going to manufacture and say, look, I want 50,000 units of A, and then you spend that money and that was it. It was just a case of 1 month we buy this, 1 month we buy that, 1 month we may not spend that, 1 month we spend that. You know what I mean? So it was kind of
Yeah.
almost based on request basis. And anything based on request basis can be a bit of up and down if not as exclusive.
Hmm.
Yeah, so for that reason we didn't really kind of stay. But still good business, but it just at the scale it just kind of became a bit tricky.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah, and good experience, I guess, for you.
It was a good experience because there's three things that can shut down a business, right? The first one is definitely the cash flow. So if you got no cash, it can definitely be shut down. The other form of the other was obviously the banks. They can call your loans in and then you cut it shut at the day. And if you're obviously in a very regulative market, then obviously regulators can shut you down. But
Hmm.
the number one out of all those three is cash. So it's it's very important to hold on cash. So we always put in a structure after that to preserve cash. So whereby depending on the business, in this case, we wanted to keep at least 10% of the cash flow will be kept at reserve. So you kind of have this um, waterfall of glass when it comes to liquidity when it comes in. So you have the different sets of accounts. So you have some cash allocated for funds, cash allocated for emergency funds, and you want some cash allocated for actually investment. Because ideally, what you want to do with the cash flow, which I think sometimes I do with so many businesses, is they don't or the cash reserve they have that it should be kind of reserved and reinvested. So then that cash can then ultimately pay for your costs. I think that's what you want to get it to rather than just kind of keep it and just spend it back. So it's a different way kind of model to look at it.
Yeah.
But it's something we were considering to put in place for that particular business because at least that way you kept some cash on board, right?
Okay, guys. Yeah. And anybody else have any experience, positive or negative, post acquisition? Yeah, interestingly, I spoke last year. I spoke to a guy who he was a CEO for a public listed company, so quite large overseas. And I was interested. So how he kind of analyzed the performance that the company, and he said, I never ever see the on the sign off, obviously the accounts kind of once a year, but he never ever kind of see this accounting, management accounts, whatever. He only follows the cash flow and kind of cash related KPIs, only cash flow. So he's not interested in the kind of accounting part of the business. This is up to his CFO. He's only focused on, probably every morning, or at least once a week, Monday morning, reads the last week kind of cash flow related reports, only that. So that was very interesting as well. Oliver, you wanted to say something, I guess.
Hi, Marek. Yes, just really wanted to share some feedback. I've made two acquisitions over the last couple of years in industrial sectors, and it's there's only so much you can plan for, and it's a lot easier to burn cash than it is to build it. So,
Is it?
yeah,
Oliver, good to see you, by the way. I haven't seen you in a while.
yeah. Hi, Ali. Yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
while. Yeah. I've been in the trenches, that's for sure. But
No, you're still doing well. Yeah, but you're learning faster than we have because you already got in the deep end before we have. So what for me? But you already got like I think two businesses in you got in already, right? Was it three?
yes,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Two
yeah, you're
companies.
still doing well. Yeah.
Sat in one at the minute. Yeah, I just in terms of you've Marek, you mentioned there's only so much. Yeah, there's only so much you can plan, right? And particularly if there's things that crop up, like for example, um, one of mine here, the maintenance of the equipment wasn't kept up while we were doing the the deal, and the deal took a little bit longer than expected, as it usually does as well.
Yeah.
And in that time, some of the equipment was basically just not being maintained. He was building the cash for himself. It was a bit of it was an LBO type model with an investor, and it just it was really difficult to to then manage the company going forward and the profits and the cash, because not only did we have to did was all the cash sucked out from the LBO
Yeah.
model, and we kind of left ourselves a bit high and dry, a lot of learning from that. But then we also had to then pay out a lot for the maintenance, so the cash there, and then all sorts of things that they'll kind of sweep under the rug as much as they can just to build up that cash. But then all that meantime, if you're not keeping an eye on it really, um, it can really shoot you in the foot going forward. And I think I've had a lot of learnings from that in terms of really being hot on, particularly when you're leading up to the deal. What is that cash flow statement looking like? What are the changes? What's not being met? And exactly how much should they be drawing? If if they're taking cash, what is that minimum figure that needs to be left in there, and then add some.
Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, you'll be left high and dry.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, actually, you've just confirmed what I've said. This is usually some surprises in terms of cash flow, and the question is, obviously you said we didn't know about, but there are some things probably we cannot, as you said, we cannot plan, until we kind of dive into that. So, and yeah, and this is why I'm very skeptical of the LBOs, because if you plan, use your cash flow, especially if they kind of these forecasts, these financial models are usually done, and not usually, but quite often done by, for example, the somebody from the finance broker side. They just want you to close the deal, so they kind of model this, and they usually use the 90-100%. Sometimes I saw this of your cash flow to service the debt, whether this is invoice finance, whatever, but they never think about the challenges post acquisition. They always surprise us. So again, now this is why I'm very skeptical about LBOs.
So
I mean, 100% LBOs. You know, if you obviously, so yeah, yeah. But you managed this through well.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's hard work, and I have to, I have to say there's a lot of stuff I've learned, built up some battle scars, that's for sure. And it's
Have you got any previous experience in this industry, or that was new to you?
so the one in question, so the one I'm essentially the answer was no. I hadn't been in this industry. Um, I just saw an opportunity in the market, and I had opportunity to acquire a company. So I kind of started off in this industry. We produce first company is an engineering and manufacturing company, producing parts for packaging machinery, and
Okay.
the other one is the one I'm sitting in here is PTFE coatings. So it kind of marries in quite well with the first company as
Hmm.
well.
Where are you
So
based? Where are they based? Probably Birmingham, Leicester, or am I right?
yeah, so the first one is just north of Cambridge, in
Cambridge.
Huntingdon, and this one is out on the south coast in Worthing.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. How about you?
No, I'm based in Sheffield, obviously, but
Okay.
you know, I
Yeah.
kind of work across the country and really internationally as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
okay, okay. But have you got any financial background?
I don't
No,
know.
no.
I'm lucky enough. I've built up a fairly decent team throughout this. So I've got an FD that works on the manufacturing side. He's got wealth of experience in manufacturing. Worked for British Steel and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So
Oh, okay.
um,
Yeah, yeah.
it's so I work with him closely. And my mum does the books as well, so she's handy one to keep an eye on things as well. So yeah,
Good.
All right, great, great.
but like I say, learning fast on the important stuff, like you say, the cash side of things is very very important to keep your
You planning any new acquisitions, new integrations?
yeah, working on some. I've kind of been working on the integration of this company over the last year. Really, it's been a bit of hard work, like I said. But I've got a manager in here now who's kind of taking the day to day away from me. And I'm just kind of working on the strategic side of stuff. And yeah, so working on some new acquisitions now as well.
Great. Good luck then.
Thank you.
Good luck. Guys, have you got any more experience in this post-acquisition challenges, or maybe not challenges, just very only positive experience?
Well, the other thing I was going to say, I mean, from what I've learned now, what I've worked out to do, or kind of my approach is now with the cash flow is what we do also with some of my other colleagues in the groups is we we try to go in now, starting in the phases. Pretty much, we say that the reason why kind of LBOs don't work because everyone's guessing numbers off a spreadsheet and haven't been inside the business to see what's exactly going on. So then they come to it, and the interest rate and whatnot no longer matches up to the exact cash flow, and then the whole business gets screwed over. So I will find the best approach, I reckon, is if we go in as a consulting base first, right? And then you have a period where as you're in the business, but that way you get a chance to see how the actual numbers actually end up on a monthly basis. You kind of like get the real figures as you kind of potentially working, but you're working. That's kind of your due diligence phase, but you're not paying actually to do. You're not paying anyone to do DD, right? So that I find that helps a great deal, and then you can execute at a later date. But it gives you that safeguard to see what actually is happening rather than going because anyway, because the statements you normally get from a balance sheet, the business want to send over, they're all like from a fixed period of time, right? They don't tend to mean so much and what's going on in the company, there and then. So it's a good way to kind of like safeguard and get actual numbers first. And plus,
Yeah,
also, you get a chance to give value to the business owner first, right? So it's kind of like a win-win. So they get something from yourself so they can see how you work. And then you get a chance to see how the business works as well. So you kind of get a better solution at the end of it.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's and another challenge is, some of maybe even most of these SMEs, they they obviously can, present their financial, like accounts, management accounts, but they very rarely I have come across have the cash flow statements historically. So that's another challenge, obviously. So you have to do that by yourself, which is again always, as you said, Ali, a lot of guesses. Yeah, guys, anybody else? Let me see who is still on the
Gadero
call.
here, he's a tax expert. I wanted to ask him whether actually his show is going to be on Zoom actually, because it looks pretty interesting.
Did I hear my
Hi,
name?
Doral.
Yeah,
Hi,
yeah.
You just joined, yeah. Hi.
Yeah. So I have to call
Yeah,
you up.
I was on a little
but-
earlier than my 8 o'clock rescheduled for 8:30. So
Okay. No,
yeah, I
well,
like
listening,
what
I
you're
saw your
talking
post
about as
on-
far as cash flow is concerned. It's
Yeah.
we like to, I grew up as a lender and then learned more about tax planning and income shifting and things of that nature. So when you combine both, it just creates what I like to call a wealth snowball. So if you can offset borrowing costs, when you save people money, it builds trust. So I really like what you're talking about post acquisition. I'd like to go back and watch the YouTube version of it so I can go a little bit deeper. We used a case study the other day of a $14 million logistics company, 14 million in revenue. That's on cash accounting. I mean, yeah, cash accounting. 40 trucks, 14 million in revenue,
Wow.
5 people in the accounting department.
Wow.
And they're on cash accounting, and it's a pass-through entity in California. So there's a lot of risk. So a lot of times we can find cash flow to mitigate the risk there. So I don't know and we're using tax reduction planning to do that. So it's about 600,000 in savings we found already. And I think the profits were they thought they were earning 2.5 and the QOE report adjusted it downward to 1.8. So obviously there's some accounting problems there.
So yeah.
It's only 800,000,
Yeah, I know, right?
So.
Are you based in California?
Yes, I'm in the Bay Area, Oakland.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I was surprised some time ago when I did research about the U.S. manufacturing, and because my understanding was probably Texas or this Pennsylvania, Ohio, but actually California is far away from this is the strongest manufacturing state. Surprisingly, which it's surprisingly to me. I'm not sure about you guys, but California is the strongest place for manufacturing businesses. So that's interesting.
It's a diverse landscape. I mean, it's pretty big. I mean, California is huge. Like you can drive 6 or 8 hours and still be in California, north and south. So, I mean, it has the 5th largest economy in the world, just the state alone. So, yeah, it's crazy. There's crime.
Yeah. Correct. It's so big. Bloody hell.
The politicians are,
Yeah, we got Trump now. So.
What's that?
So
you got Trump now. So.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Speaking up, the California is mostly blue, but how do you feel about this new, blue? You've got the blue cap as well. What do you think about the new government? Just to.
You mean locally? Well, there's a lot of recalls.
Sorry, not government. Obviously the president and the.
Well, if you look, a lot of the some people call it gentrification, but a lot of the new development came from things like opportunity zones, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, some of the things that Obama did, some of the things that Trump did, and it allows deferral of capital gains. Even if you can sell a business or a building right now and not have to pay tax on it until 2027. That's a lot of time and runway to go make that money back. I mean, you can always park some of it in an insurance policy. That's why I like businesses. You can leverage money in the business, pull the money out, and then go buy real estate because real estate's more long term. A business can fail at any time, so you want to pull money out and put it to the side if you can.
Yeah.
So I think if played correctly, you can eat. So when there's Democrats, there's more tax planning that's necessary because the taxes tend to go up. When there's Republicans, it's opportunity. So you leverage the opportunity. So no matter what regime or who's leading in Congress or whatever. You just go with the flow and then work accordingly. But a lot of people were waiting to do business or to sell buildings, depending on who was going to be in the White House. So now some people are moving forward now that Trump's been elected.
All right,
Like
that's
people
very
were literally
interesting.
waiting to sign leases.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, I like your approach. You find opportunities, whether this is blue or red. That's one. And second, so do you think this is under the Trump presidency and obviously the Republicans, that there will be more opportunities to buy a business in the US?
I think so, because it's easier to exit, right?
Yeah.
So if it's easier for business owners to exit, and that's where and that's why I like working with attorneys and accountants and CPAs that understand, tax reduction planning, capital gains tax planning, because now you can help people get out and get over their fears. You have the estate tax. We have 50 states with 50 different rules. So, and then we have federal rules on top of that. So in order to get out of those businesses, some planning is required. And if you can help people net more money, they're usually more amenable to working with you.
Right.
So it's a different, in my opinion, it's a differentiator. So if we take the tax code and the updates and what Trump's going to do, it just makes for more transactions. So now more people can buy because now the baby boomers can get out.
Yeah.
And they'll know that their money's going to last a little bit longer. So maybe now they're more open to doing business, because you look at all the red states, all those states in the middle, there's a lot of businesses. And even in California, I mean, there's a lot of business. And if you look at the interior where all there's an agricultural strip in California from Sacramento down to, I think, Bakersfield. There's a place called Magic Mountains, Castaic Lake. There's a big, between Sacramento, the capital, and the entryway to the Grapevine to Los Angeles, there's a lot of agricultural businesses in there. And that's pretty much like a Republican strip of land, the interior, not on the coast, but in the interior. And those people I think it's ripe for, there's a lot of manufacturing in there, a lot of industrial, a lot of agricultural companies in there. I think there's a big opportunity. Yeah,
absolutely. That's a very positive aspect. That at the same time, I believe we believe that that will be more money coming into the market, lower rates, more money supply, currency devaluation. So that would be another opportunity, to be honest. So that's a good time, to be honest. The next probably 1, 2, 3, 4 years, that will be a good time for us as buyers. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Because now sellers are more, even whether it's real or imagined, with perception is reality. So if they think it's a hindrance, now some of that hindrance is gone. So it should be easier for buyers to come in and do deals.
Good. Right, guys, thank you very much for today. I think we're running out of cash, so hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. And again, feel free to reach out to me through the app or maybe through YouTube or LinkedIn. We can discuss things further. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck.